they would have been on in that first stint. He was on pole.
I always look back at what the guys have done, of course, in the Road to Indy before, and you go back to some of the experience that you can translate here. He was a winner in Indy Pro 2000 on the streets of Toronto, and that we know that's a very, very bumpy street circuit. So that plays to here. He's quick between the concrete walls. Not surprising. As surprised, I think, as you maybe for Daniel Frost, but you brought up some good points, man. Had some issues in qualifying, could have been even better. But him starting on the outside of road number 2, I like an outside starting position here. I think you would agree that it kind of eliminates some of the peril of turn number 1.
100%. The outside seems like it's always opened up, right?
Yeah.
And the inside is where everything gets pinched down. That's where the accident happens. So I like that outside row as well, especially even if I'm starting on the inside here. If I'm anything back, fourth back, I am making sure that I get towards the outside to avoid whatever is going to see me in turn 1.
Another guy that had an issue, obviously, in qualifying was Alex Peroni bringing out that red flag. He looked really, really strong, in my opinion, in the Carlin car. Here's a guy that has won numerous Formula Renault races at Pau, at Monaco as well. So he knows how to get around the track. And in talking to Alex, he really likes the racetrack. He thinks it's super fun to drive on. And they, I think, are just closing up. You know, they're going to keep chipping away. He looked really strong for a number of the laps there in qualifying.
Well, and I have to say, of Carlin's return, I think they've done a fantastic job getting back into the series.
Agreed.
I mean, both their drivers, Christian Bogle and Alex Peroni, don't have a lot of experience on these tracks, right? These are Road to Indy specific tracks. They're both rookies to the Road to Indy. So for them to come out of the bat really swinging, I like what I see, and I think they're going to be in it for the long run.
And I give props to Christian Bogle. A couple years in USF 2000, so he has been here before, but never in 450 horsepower. Literally almost 3 times the horsepower that he's used to. But through his USF 2000 career, Christian Bogle was the mark of consistency. I think 1 DNF last year for mechanical, never makes mistakes on the racetrack, stays within his boundaries. Only 1.1 seconds back as a rookie here. I count that a huge win for Christian Bogle.
Well, and it's not just Christian Bogle. I have to say there's some surprises there in the ladder to midfield as well. Like Antonio Saravalli outqualified Toby Sari, outqualified a couple big hitters.
Yeah, you think about Saravalli, this program coming together, and maybe in the last 90 days kind of a thing to put it together, even less than that, maybe 60 days, a couple of months. They were able to lease a car, lease a trailer, put together kind of a ragtag crew of guys that were still available. Normally coming into the season, the guys that are veteran crew members aren't available. They're already signed up, so they bring the guys together. He ends up, I think, P9 qualifying for this particular race. I think it's a huge step forward for Antonio.
Huge step forward. And I think we have to talk about, if we're talking about P9 qualifying, we've got to talk about Juncos and a little bit of no man's land.
Yeah. They have a lot of experience here. Obviously, we've seen them win races here before. Juncos Racing and Indy Lights. They've got Toby Sowry, a veteran driver. He ran all of 2019 and was a race winner running there for the HMD team as well. Was going to run for Bilardi Auto Racing last year. That team shuttered. He ends up with Juncos, and in talking to Toby a little bit, saying they're just having a bit of stability problems when they get into the braking zone. You know this, when you're trying to really go deep into a corner, you have to have good feel, and he just doesn't have the feel on the brakes.
And that's at a street course when you've got to bounce a $100,000 machine through walls.
That's it, right?
Instability is not your friend.
So tell me, as a driver, Stingray Robb, Indy Pro 2000 champion last year. He dominated the action here last year, almost went perfect. Set a qualifying lap record in Indy Pro here at St. Pete, the race lap record. What is it about him transitioning to Indy Lights right now? Have you talked to him? Is he slowly getting up to speed?
I had a great, candid discussion with him at Barber Motorsports Park, and you know Stingray.
Yeah.
He's one of the most humble guys.
True.
He's probably even too hard on himself. You know, I thought his run at Barber Motorsports Park was great.
Yeah.
He got off to a pair of, I think, 8th and 7th place finishes.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Good start. 4 years in Indy Pro. That takes not a toll on you, but you adapt to one car for a very long time, and you learn how to drive one car for a very long time.
I never thought of it that way.
With the team for, he's been with Juncos Racing now. This is his 3rd year. 2 years in Indy Pro, and now his 3rd year here. Unfortunately, sometimes the same scenery can be determined, and I think it's just a little bit of adapting to that car.
Do you think he's having to try to potentially break the habits? Because he's driven the PM18 for 4 years.
100%.
Yeah,
you know, the Indy Lights car, in the very brief experience I have with it, it's got a lot of weight. It's not sports car weight, but it's got a lot of weight that needs to be transferred. You need to wait on the weight. I always say that in sports cars.
So patience.
It's a lot of you waiting for the car to actually drive you instead of you drive the car. Now, don't get me wrong, these Indy Lights drivers are still wheeling the heck off of it. But at the same time, there's this level of you having the car drive itself. And I think he's got to get in tune with it. The Indy Pro car, you grab it by the neck and you literally drive the the wheels off it.
Well,
for whatever reason, it just keeps going faster. It's light. It's nimble.
I like that.
But you've got an Indy Lights car. The tires fall off more. As good as these Cooper tires are, it's got more weight to transfer through, and it builds more heat. And then you've got more weight and fuel, right? They're doing longer races. That was a big thing for him going into Barber Motorsports Park. He'd never done a full race run. He didn't know what the car was going to do to him.
That's very true. 45-minute race run as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this interesting thing, too. I know we're getting close to getting ready to roll here right now. I'll be heading out to the pit lane for driver introductions and the command to fire the engines, of course. But the big thing is here, IndyCar qualifying just wrapped up. There's a lot more rubber down on the racetrack. How is that going to change this track?
It's already changed it immensely. It's funny, with these change of format for IndyCar, you look at Barber Motorsports Park, they only did Saturday, Sunday. So a lot of the Road to Indy events were done on Friday, Saturday, right? The weekend's over. Now they've already run in all their soft tires for practice. They finished practice yesterday.
That's true. The reds are on, yep.
Now all of a sudden you're looking, they completed qualifying. That's when the most rubber's going to go down, and we have to go now finish up our races. It's going to change it a lot.
So, again, let's talk about the racetrack. I know that it's a tough one here. There's a couple places to pass. One big thing, we didn't have it at Barber Motorsports Park. Push to pass is back. 15 applications of 50 horsepower for a 50-second stint. I think that's going to play a lot here because the long straightaways, you're going to be able to use that 50 more horsepower. It's
going to play it huge here. And there's 3 main passing zones. Obviously, turn 1 as you get the run down Albert Whitted Drive on the runway. Then you go into turn 4. That's another passing zone. And then down Bayshore Drive into turn 10. Those are going to be the 3 places you watch for action. But the concrete jungle here at the streets of St. Pete, we've saw the first 2 rungs struggled with it a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how these Indy Lights drivers tackle it. So let's take the fans a lap around the track. For the second round of the Road to Indy Championships, we are here in sunny Florida to take battle on the streets of St. Petersburg. This unique street circuit is 14 turns, 1.8 miles, and it's enclosed by concrete walls. It is one of the toughest street circuits that the Road to Indy drivers will have to face this year, as it is not only as wide as an airport runway down Albert Whitted Airport, it's as narrow as a crosswalk as we get into the streets of St. Petersburg and we come down here down Bayshore Drive. As drivers barrel down Albert Whitted runway, they reach speeds of over 150 miles per hour as they somehow have to get the car stopped from a track as wide as a runway to as narrow as a sidewalk in turns 1 and 2. We move on to turn 4, one of the biggest brake zones on the track, and the drivers will have to face the crown in the road as they meet the heart of downtown St. Petersburg and the tricky streets. The next notable corners are turns 8 and 9, which set the run back down Bayshore Drive in towards turn 10. As you exit turn 10, you're almost home, but drivers can't get distracted by all of the yachts in the marina. Turns 11 and 12, one of the most tricky. It's flat out, but it's hairy. It's right on the edge of concrete versus machine. Turns 13 and 14 set up your most important run, no pun intended, as you get back onto the Albert Whitted runway and cross the start-finish line here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Race car drivers are always looking for a leg up. And with modern day racing at an all-time high for cost, the best way to do that is through sim racing. I'm here with Greg DeGeorgis, owner of Symmetric Labs, and he's going to take us behind the scenes on what it's like to run a high-performance simulation. Greg, what have we got here? How did you get into sim racing, and what are you offering for the Road to Indy athletes?
Yeah, so we really offer drivers a head start on the racing weekend to take the first bite off of their learning curve to get prepped on at races and everything. My background is as a data engineer. I am not a driver or a driver coach, but I worked with a lot of championship-winning teams, drivers, coaches, and efforts to get drivers prepared. So I know what it takes to win.
Take me through the process of becoming a Symmetric Labs customer.
It's really simple. We offer unlimited packages to drivers where they come in for a flat fee and they drive as much as they want for the entire race weekend. So there's no counting a clock or anything like that. To get the most out of it or anything. We'll take multiple appointments throughout the race week, and we usually front load on load in and practice day, and then we'll usually do morning warm-ups before qualifying into a race day to get drivers fully ready to go. So at 8 o'clock in the morning before an early qualifying or something like that, they're ready to turn really fast laps.
What do you view as the biggest jump these drivers are getting when they get on the sim? For me, when I get on the sim, it's usually for track learning, but I'm sure they're learning a lot more than just how to go around the track. What are they learning on the race weekends, and what are you teaching them?
Yeah, so like you said, a lot of what people assume with simulators is that all they can learn is new tracks. That's true. It's definitely a big part of it. But we can also teach drivers to get really comfortable. I have excellent models of all 3 other Road to Indy cars that I developed in-house with all the logger, tire, manufacturer data, and a lot of feedback from real drivers so they feel as real as possible. So with really, really good car and track models, we can actually work in even focus conditioning with these drivers where they know the car, they know the track, and we're gonna let them run in the sim for an hour with the heat on, all over their gear. I'm gonna intentionally try to distract them, force them into mistakes, and then really try to work on their entire race stint or their stint performance.
Let's get to the real meat and potatoes though, which is the sim. This thing is gorgeous. Now, what simulator are you using?
So this is the CXC Simulations Motion Pro 2. It's about $100,000 sim. It's really the best sim that money can buy that also fits in an 8-foot wide trailer.
Wow. Okay. Well, I can't wait to get on it. It looks unbelievable. We are here for a driver profile with one of the most anticipated drivers in Indy Lights, Alex Peroni from FIA F3. Alex, it's great to have you here in the US. First off, let's talk about your move. Originally from Australia, now you've moved to the US. Where?
Yeah, no, it's cool to be here. Loving the US so far. So I've moved near Carlin, where Carlin is in Florida, at Delray Beach. So getting used to the climate, hot all the time. I mean, it's already in the 30s and it's not even summer, so I'm a bit worried, but nah, so far so good.
So is this your first time racing then in America?
Yeah, first time even being in America as well. So it was a bit of a culture shock the first couple of weeks, but yeah, as I said, I'm loving it. The people really cool. The car's awesome to drive. The track's here insane. It's especially Barber. So yeah, it's cool.
Awesome. Well, for those of you at home, he's 21 years old, living the dream, obviously being an Aussie. I'm sure the accent helps on the Florida beaches. What are you most looking forward to over here racing in the U.S.?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's so many new things. There's so many new things to get used to, so many new things to try. And I think, as I said before, the tracks most likely, like Barber's just amazing. You know, I'm really keen for the street circuits. And I think the coolest thing is there's a big variety in tracks here. You know, Europe, they're all a bit similar in ways. You know, they're all very flat, same tarmac, same curves. But here you got, you know, places like Detroit, which is so bumpy. And then you got like Indy GP and then Mid-Ohio. So I'm really keen to try all the tracks out for sure.
Awesome. And goal for 2021?
Goal is just to learn as much as possible and just do the best I can. I mean, like everyone, the aim is to win. You know, you got to be in it to win it. I mean, that's why we're all competing. If you're not there to win, what's the point? But, you know, we know there's a lot to learn, a lot of new things to do. So we'll just do our best and see where we end up.
It was great chatting to one of the friendliest guys on the road to Indy paddock. Alex, I wish you all the success this weekend.
Thanks, Parker. Thanks for having me.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters.
Of the first two rungs of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. USF 2000, a little bit of chaotic for sure. 3 or 4 or 5 different yellow flag periods. Hopefully they'll have a better run later on today. We saw Indy Pro 2000 as well. The drivers from exclusive Autosport scoring the wins. Christian Brooks in USF 2000. Of course, Braden Eves in Indy Pro 2000. But these drivers behind me right now, 13 strong, ready to go for the final rung of this Road to Indy. It is the Indy Lights drivers presented by Cooper Tires. 13, as I said, getting set to go. Many of these drivers have worked their way through from USF 2000 into Indy Pro. Indy Pro now up into Indy Lights, including the last 2 Indy Pro 2000 champions, Kyle Kirkwood from 2019, and Stingray Robb, your reigning champion in Indy Pro, up here with the scholarship from Anderson Promotions. Let's have a look at the grid. 13 drivers set to go, as I said. Push to pass, back on again, 15 seconds, 15 applications, 50 more horsepower. That will definitely help coming down the long straightaways here at St. Petersburg. Let's have a look at the grid here right now. Starting in the 13th position for Carlin Racing and Jay Howard Driver Development from Louisiana. Christian Bogle, the rookie, in the number 7, starting 13th. Moving up to row number 6 now. On the outside, the driver that won the Indy Pro 2000 championship last year for Juncos Racing from Payette, Idaho. It's Stingray Robb in the number 2, starting in 12th. Alongside him from Cambridge, England for Juncos Racing. Winner 2 years ago at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Toby Sowery in the number 51, starting in 11th. Breeze picking up quite a bit down here. It'll be right in their faces as they work their way down the straightaway to turn number 1. That's going to help the draft. That is for sure. Into the top 10 now, Nikita Lastishkin, Russian-born, now living in Los Angeles. Lastishkin in the number 59, the rookie who worked his way all the way through the Road to Indy. He'll be racing with HMD Motorsports. Inside of that row for Passera Racing, a rookie who put this program together just about 45 days ago, Antonio Saravalli out of Canada in the number 11, starting in 9th. Up now to row number 4 on the outside for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports. It's Benjamin Pedersen, the driver in the number 24, starting 8th. Inside of that row from Australia in the Blundstone machine for Carlin Racing, Alex Peroni, the Aussie, in the number 5, starting 7th. Moving now up to row number 3 on the outside. Winner at the first round at Barber Motorsports Park. The point leader coming in, rookie though, but he has impressed out of the gate, Linus Lundqvist, running for HMD Motorsports and Global Racing Group. He is in the number 26, starting 6th. Inside of that row, Robert McGinnis, former winner here of the USF 2000 program, won in 2019 in Indy Lights as well at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. McGinnis out of Mount Kisco, New York, in the number 27 for Andretti Autosport. Up to row number 2 on the outside, a winner in Indy Pro on the streets of Toronto. So he knows his way around a temporary circuit. Ran last year in Indy Pro 2000, moving up with Andretti Autosport. The rookie, Daniel Frost out of Singapore, the number 68, starting in 4th. Inside now of row number 2, pretty easy car to see. That brilliant yellow machine out of Ontario, Canada, actually living now in Miami, Florida. He'll run for Andretti Steinbrenner Racing. The rookie, Indy Pro 2000 runner-up last year, the number 17, Devlin DiFrancesco, starting in 3rd. 13 drivers in the field, 2 on the front row, and these drivers ready to battle it out. On the outside, a winner from round number 2 at Barber Motorsports Park out of Chicago, Illinois for HMD Motorsports, the number 79, David Malukas. Malukas, the American, on the inside of row 1. In fact, it's an all-USA row number 1 because the driver starting on the pole position here right now. Some troubles at Barber Motorsports Park, but his resume of open-wheel racing like no other. 4 championships in 3 years, F4, F3, USF 2000 champion in 2018, Indy Pro 2000 champion in 2019. His rookie season here with Andretti Autosport. Kyle Kirkwood out of Jupiter, Florida. The Florida driver, the number 28, the rookie starting P1. Kirkwood and Malukas on row 1. DiFrancesco and Frost will be on row 2. McGinnis and Lundqvist on row 3. Peroni and Pedersen on row 4. Row 5, we'll see Saravalli and Lostishkin. Row 6, Sowery and Robb. And row 7 will be Christian Bogle. So, ladies and gentlemen, all 13 of these drivers ready to fire things up. 450 horsepower behind them on the Dallara IL-15 chassis. It is time for them to flick the switch, fire them up. As we are down here on pit lane right now, joining me to give the command to fire, the Senior VP of Anderson Companies, Mark Anderson.
On behalf of everyone with Foundation Building Materials and Anderson Interior Contracting, drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines coming to life. And for the broadcast here, we head in progress, Nick Yeoman from the IndyCar Radio Network.
Most notably will power. The grip on the rear of the car can go away and you can find yourself spinning. But you want to maintain momentum because it's that final turn before you get back onto that airport runway, which is the most important portion of the racetrack in terms of maintaining that momentum and getting a fast lap here at St. Pete.
Well, the engines have fired for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires here on the IndyCar Radio Network. It is the pace car followed by Kyle Kirkwood leading them off of pit lane here at Barber Motorsports Park, here in St. Petersburg. We were there last week at Barber Motorsports Park. This is the only time that those cars will be on pit lane. Of course, Indy Lights does not do live pit stops, so if any of those guys are back on pit lane, it means they've had trouble. It's Kyle Kirkwood, your pole sitter. Alongside him, David Malukas, Devlin DiFrancesco and Daniel Frost in row number 2. Robert McGinnis will start alongside Linus Lundqvist in row number 3. Alex Peroni is in row number 4 alongside Benjamin Pedersen. In row 5, Antonio Saravalli in that red and black machine alongside Nikita Lostashkin. In row number 6, Toby Sowery and Stingray Robb. And Christian Bogle brings up the tail of the field starting in 13th. Okay, Davey Hamilton, if I could tell you as a race car driver that your car is really good in one particular spot here around the St. Petersburg street course, where do you want to be really fast?
Well, where you want to be fast, guys, is coming off turn 14. That is the place because that's that long straightaway, and that is the best passing zone going down into turn 1. So if you could get out there, get a good run, get a little bit of a draft, passing zone, turn 1, definitely by far the best. So I'm going to do all I can to make my car really good off that corner.
All right, we've got a couple good pit reporters down going to be covering the action. We hope it's not busy for them down on pit lane, but some final thoughts before we go racing. Ryan Marine, I want to start with you. Someone maybe you're keeping an eye on here as we're set to go racing for the 3rd time in Indy Lights for 2021.
The name that jumps to mind for me, Nick, is Daniel Frost, the rookie out of Singapore. He'll start 4th here today, also qualified 4th for race number 2 tomorrow. He's one that wants to put the opening week of the season behind him as quickly as possible. Came away from Barber Motorsports Park with finishes of 7th and 12th. But he does have some good history here on the streets of St. Petersburg, going back to last season, in which he finished 3rd at the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, finished on the podium in both starts here at St. Petersburg last year. And he's been fast throughout practice and in the 2 qualifying sessions as well in the build-up to this race. So really curious to see what he can do in his first Indy Light start here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Great effort in qualifying, now trying to convert that into a good race finish for the first time this year after a disappointment in the opening round of the championship. How about you, Rob Howden? Who do you have your eye on this afternoon?
I'll tell you this, Ryan. It's been interesting for me to watch these guys come through the entire road to Indy. You know, through USF 2000, Indy Pro. I'll tell you, though, in talking to David Malukas at Barber Motorsports Park, this young man has matured a ton since he was here at the start of 2020, was the fastest driver in that single practice session. I cannot believe how much he's matured. He's got confidence more confidence than I've seen in many years. And, of course, to be able to get that win in race number 2 at Barber, he's going against the rookie over there in Kyle Kirkwood. I have a feeling that David Malukas is going to try to get super aggressive here. He's the driver I want to see what he can do because he's going to start on pole for race number 2 tomorrow.
All right, getting ready to settle in for 35 laps around the streets of St. Petersburg. As Rob mentioned, those 2 drivers on the front row, they didn't play too kindly in race number 1, as it was Kirkwood ruining the day for David Malukas. They will lead the field to the green flag here momentarily. Kirkwood and that blue and silver car for Andretti Autosport. David Malukas in the red, black, and silver with some yellow accents on that machine. He was our winner at Birmingham 1 week ago on Sunday. And then Devlin DeFrancesco, the neon highlighter yellow car for Andretti Autosport. Daniel Frost will start alongside him. They'll start to stack up out of the final corner. We're set to go racing on the streets of St. Petersburg. First 3 rows, the alignment is pretty good. Back of the field, hustling to catch the rest of the field. They will see the green flag, though, and Michael Young, the Indy Light Series, will head to turn number 1.
And they look good so far as DeFrancesco dives inside of Malukas, trying to get that second position. Kirkwood, 2-car length advantage. Then DeFrancesco, Malukas through 3.
Oftentimes, by the time they get to turn 3, things have settled out just a little bit, but it's not necessarily the case right now. There goes Daniel Frost to the inside. He is looking to in on trying to get that 3rd spot away from David Malukas. Not able to do it. DeFrancesco to 2nd. Kirkwood the leader around Pioneer Park.
Yeah, they were going side by side through turns 5 as Daniel Frost trying to get around David Malukas. Mark, it's a good battle for 3rd as Malukas kind of stacking up that train behind him.
Yeah, Malukas is trying to gain some sort of separation, but he's not able to do so. DeFrancesco with a great move at the start of this race, and the field, led by Kyle Kirkwood, makes that left-handed turn and slips away from the Dowling Museum and sets up for that 11-12 switchback.
It was a disjointed start. Ryan Marine doesn't look like all 13 drivers answered the bell on the green flag.
I think part of the problem was Toby Sowery, who has brought his car to the pit lane. Something wrong with that car on the pace laps. They have the rear cowling off of the Juncos Racing machine, and the crew is taking a look at it. There's an AER, Advanced Engine Research technician here as well. They've got the laptop plugged in, trying to diagnose what's going on with Toby Sowery's car. Real disappointment for the Juncos Racing driver, who had scored podiums in both of his previous starts here at St. Pete.
Davey, it was bizarre, the start of that race, as we saw about 8 cars off of that final corner, and I'm sitting here wondering, wait a second, where's the second half of the field?
So that's one thing as being new, right, to these cars in this series. One thing that you have to do, you can't leave any track position out there. And those guys, as you said, they were all, the first 8 of them were all stacked up nice. Then there was a huge gap. When the green flag came out, some guys were still coming off of turn 14. You cannot give up that kind of track position, especially when you're going slow. So I'm sure their teams will show them that video and let them know not to do that again.
Up front, it was a perfect start, though, for Jupiter, Florida's Kyle Kirkwood. He's your leader. Good battle developing, though, for second. David Malukas has kind of regathered himself, and now, Michael, he's charging towards Devlin DeFrancesco into turn 1.
Yeah, DeFrancesco had a great pass going into turn number 1, got underneath Malukas. Malukas thought better than to battle him, and Daniel Frost now starting to check into that 3rd place battle as well. So a great battle as it comes to the view of Jake Query.
Malukas off of turn 3 got just a little bit loose on the rear of the race car, allowed DeFrancesco to pull away just a little bit, but Frost now is really starting to get
Yeah, we're watching David Malukas try to hold on to that race car, Mark. He very nearly tagged the wall, but clearly he's fast all over the rear ring of that bright yellow car of Devlin DeFrancesco.
To show you how important, we've discussed it before with Davey Hamilton, Nick. Clearly, getting off of that final turn is so very, very important, and he was not able to do that, David Malukas. The car wiggled a little bit upon exit, and it has taken him 3/4 of a lap to catch back up. He'll try it again this time as he hopes to make a cleaner exit as he's nose to tail into that final turn.
Well, lights up the tires just a little bit. It looked like Devlin DeFrancesco slid it as well. This may be a 3-car battle for the second position as Daniel Frost has peeked into the battle as well. Malukas pops to the outside. Michael, they're going to go side by side into one.
Yeah, Malukas will now try to dive to the inside, doing the over-under. He's all over the rear ring of Devlin DeFrancesco into 3.
Again, this is the battle for the second position. DeFrancesco has it. It is stacked up behind him with Malukas and Frost right there. Kirkwood is putting all of this in the rearview mirror. He is 12 car lengths in front of that 2-3-4 combination.
Davey, these cars dancing around Pioneer Park. Some good battling there from second on back.
Well, how about this? We just talked about that, Nick. Is somebody going to check out like they did in a barber? Yes, that's exactly what happened. The leader's out there, but man, from second back, you can throw a blanket over all of them. And man, it's so cool to watch these cars and some of the camera angles that they have. Just watching how rough this track out is and how they bounce around and how it's hard to keep these cars under control at some of these corners. It's pretty exciting.
Devlin DeFrancesco leads this train from second position on back. Boy, Malukas had to swing really wide to avoid running into him. He's going to give up the third position as Daniel Frost moves to the inside. They will drag race down the long airport runway. Daniel Frost to the inside, David Malukas to the outside. Michael, who's going to take that third spot out of turn number 1?
Frost takes that position, and then David Malukas will fall back to that 4th position. Right behind him is Robert McGinnis for 5th.
This is a really good battle. Again, Frost in 3rd, then Malukas. McGinnis now is going to try to go inside of Malukas. They make contact. Malukas got hung out to dry. McGinnis to the outside. He made it just to get past Malukas.
Mark James, how about this battle? And they're not done. Malukas, and it looked like Linus Lundqvist in that orange and black car going wheel to wheel.
Peroni, Pedersen, all of those guys trying to get involved in this as, again, they all kind of got stacked up behind David Malukas, and that allowed everyone to close out. The big beneficiary, of course, to all of this, Kirkwood and even DeFrancesco, as they start to pull away a little bit.
Yeah, Kirkwood's got to be loving this as his advantage is a full 2 seconds as he makes his way back out of the front straightaway. Then it's Devlin DeFrancesco, his Andretti Autosport Steinbrenner teammate, and then it's that battle for 3rd. Daniel Frost has it. Robert McGinnis going to try to regather it. Michael Young as they race towards turn 1.
And Kyle Kirkwood about a 15 car length advantage, then DeFrancesco. Daniel Frost all by his lonesome in 3rd. Then it's Robert McGinnis. David Malukas has fallen to 5th, and I tell you what, Lundqvist is making a nice move trying to get into that 5th position. He's currently 6th.
Yeah, Lundqvist is staying right there, and that grouping is kind of separating itself. Nick, it's kind of like seemingly the start of this race where the first half of the field has really kind of gotten away from the back half.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Kyle Kirkwood checking out, 2-second lead over Devlin DeFrancesco, and then they're running wheel to wheel. Boy, Linus Lundqvist just about tagged the wall, running a little wide through Pioneer Park. And Mark, he's going to have to hold on. Alex Peroni in that bright blue Carlin machine, giving a good chase down towards turn 10.
Yeah, it looked like a little wheel rub for him to that Pioneer Park area. It doesn't look like even a donut showed up on the side pod, which you see sometimes at close quarters racing. But yeah, these drivers for sure have the elbows plenty wide, and the front 3 now, Nick, as they make their way off the final turn, starting to space themselves out a little bit.
5 of 35 complete here on the streets of St. Petersburg. This is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires on the IndyCar Radio Network. It's Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader. Devlin DeFrancesco is 2nd. Daniel Frost is 3rd. It looks like Linus Lundqvist did just lose that position to Alex Peroni. Let's get a couple updates from pit lane. We'll start, Rob Howden, with you.
Yeah, Nick, I'll tell you, I've been here trackside since 8 o'clock in the morning, and the wind has not been as brisk as it is right now. As I walked back up pit lane, I physically had to lean into the wind, and you think about that in their faces as they're able to come out of turn 14. The draft going to play, I think, even more of a role as the driver's able to suck back in behind the gearbox of the drivers in front of them. Then you add in the fact that we have push to pass back here this weekend. We did not have it at Barber Motorsports Park, but again, those 15 seconds, 15 applications of 50 more horsepower, that's going to come into play. But the key to that now is obviously 1.5 seconds back is when you get the activation. Kyle Kirkwood over 2 seconds out front. The drivers behind him, Devlin DiFrancesco and the rest, are not going to be able to use push to pass to reel in the leader. The guy that won the USF 2000 championship and the Indy Pro 2000 championship in back-to-back years, looking strong here for his first Indy Lights victory.
A little bit further down pit lane, Ryan Marine, I know you've got an update as well.
Toby Sowery has returned to the race, albeit 6 laps down. The word from the team is simply that he lost power very unexpectedly. This is not something they've been dealing with all weekend. It is a team that's been chasing some handling woes, but as far as lost power goes, that's something completely new. I will say when he left, the car did not sound completely on song, and he just came down the front straightaway, guys, and that car sounded wounded, to say the least. So I think we'll likely be seeing Toby Sowery back on pit lane very soon.
Yeah, it's a tough start to the day. Sowery right now 13th, 6 laps down. Michael Young, it was a great start to the Indy Lights campaign for the Global Racing Group teammates in those identical orange and black cars. We're talking about Linus Lundqvist and Benjamin Pedersen. They run in 7th and 8th right now. And can you describe the battling down in turn 1? It looks like it's been ferocious the last couple laps.
It really has. 2 laps ago, Lundqvist swung way wide at the exit of turn number 1. His teammate Pedersen tried to sneak below him. He was able to close that gap, and they came right back into turn number 1 last time by side, battling there as well. This time by, let's see how that battle shapes up. And it's calmed down a little bit. Lundqvist about 3 car lengths ahead of his teammate Pedersen, but Jake Query, those two were going at it for about 2 laps in a row.
And they seem to have settled down just a little bit right now, at least theoretically speaking, because they have, we'll call it maybe about 4 car lengths between them. Maybe they decided, maybe somebody told Lundqvist, look, just make sure you keep this clean here, because he got a little aggressive early on, but things have settled down just a little bit.
Full field rundown. It's Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader, by 2.4 seconds over Devlin DiFrancesco. Francesco trying to hold off Daniel Frost, who is charging, trying to make that a good battle for second as they head for the final hairpin. They run second and third. Pretty good battle for fourth as well, as Robert McGinnis is trying to hold off David Malukas. That is your top 5. Let's peek in to that battle for not only second, but for fourth position. Michael, down the front straightaway, DiFrancesco trying to hold off Daniel Frost.
Yeah, DiFrancesco swings wide and allows Daniel Frost in. Daniel Frost overcooks it into turn number 1. DiFrancesco let the door open. Now Daniel Frost in third, under attack by Robert McGinnis. Right behind him, David Malukas.
Yeah, so now all of a sudden things get really, really interesting. Again, DiFrancesco puts this in his rearview mirror. Frost has McGinnis right there. Then Malukas, who had fallen early, is making sure he's keeping those 2 close in his sight. But that's exactly how they run through turn number 5.
Davey Hamilton, did Daniel Frost just discover the limit of just how hard you can charge into turn 1?
Yeah, exactly. He sure did. You know, the race between these guys is amazing. McGinnis and Malukas, Peroni, and Lundqvist. Them guys, I tell you what, they've been putting on a great show. But Frost right there, he gave it a shot, threw it in way early. I mean, he turned in so early, I thought that I didn't know if he was going to make the corner. It was so early, but he tried it. It didn't stick, and he'll catch up to him again and try something different. Right now, as we see side by side between who is that? McGinnis and Malukas coming off at the final corner.
Yeah, McGinnis' car got sideways. He loses the position to Malukas. Now, Michael, can he regather it and repass him into 1?
Boy, they contacted in turn number 1. McGinnis gets into David Malukas. It looked like McGinnis just slid into him, but he's right on the rear wing of David Malukas.
And you know what's interesting is Frost had let these 2 away from him, but he got just a little bit loose as he exited turn number 3. But the gap is too big for Malukas to make up ground. Then McGinnis is right behind him. He is again trying to keep Malukas on him as they work through turn number 5.
Well, the old adage is 8 tires better than 4, and it was a controlled slide with McGinnis and Malukas side by side. And Davey, that opens the door for Peroni. Alex Peroni now into that battle as well, running in the 6th position.
He's coming on. He's joining the gang, and man, it keeps getting exciting, more exciting. And I'll tell you, 2, 3. This is our 3rd race, really, that the leader has just checked out. But man, from second back is the most exciting racing we've seen for a long time in this Indy Lights series.
Yeah, boy, they went wheel to wheel, Mark Janes, through turn number 1. Robert McGinnis on the inside, David Malukas on the outside, and you could really see him sawing on the steering wheels to try to hold on to those race cars.
Well, you know, Robert McGinnis driving for his open wheel future, I think, Nick, quite frankly. I mean, you know, he thrilled to have this opportunity in the 27 car, and you know, that young man didn't get his season off to a very good start. Had struggles trying to be competitive at Barber Motorsports Park last weekend, and he's looking for a strong rebound and hoping for a good finish today, and hopefully get himself in position to contend for a championship.
Working lap number 11 of 35 here on the streets of St. Petersburg. It is Kyle Kirkwood from Jupiter, Florida, up front by 3.2 seconds over Devlin DeFrancesco. Another 1.6 seconds back to Daniel Frost, who runs in third. Frost has gapped Malukas, who runs in the fourth position. McGinnis is fifth. Alex Peroni, the rookie driver for Carlin Racing, is in sixth. Linus Lundqvist is seventh. Benjamin Pedersen is eighth. Antonio Serravalle runs in the ninth position. Stingray Robb rounds out the top 10. At 11th, it is Nikita Lasishkin. Christian Bogle runs in 12th. And then in 13th, it is Toby Sowery. Leader makes his way through turn number 1. Michael Young, though, throughout the field, have things calmed down a little bit from second on back?
Looks like it. DeFrancesco already by me, so too Daniel Frost. Then it's Malukas, calling 4 car lengths. And then that battle's starting to shape up. Malukas and McGinnis, and then Peroni right there as well, Jake.
Yep, McGinnis works his way now, starts to decelerate a little bit for that right-hander that is turn number 4. Peroni just behind him. Malukas about 5 car lengths in front of him. Everything kind of right now settling down just a little bit, Nick.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It was awful wild from second to about the 6th position, and now things starting to settle down as these drivers will try to maintain some race pace. With still 23 laps to go, got to take care of these race cars, got to take care of those Cooper tires, and we'll see who can find a little strength in the back half of this race. Of course, the entire Road to Indy is here this weekend. A lot of busy track activity, and Rob Howden, you've been on the call for just about darn near all of it. Tell us a little bit about some of the racing we've seen so far.
I'll tell you, Nick, a really solid start to the weekend with USF 2000. The guys up front staying out of trouble. We had a bit of chaos in the back, 5 different yellow flags. But I'm standing by here right now with a driver who was able to get the race win. Christian Brooks, second year in USF 2000, running with exclusive Autosport. You won here to cap the season off last year. You come back with a focus on the championship. A couple of top 5s at Barber Motorsports Park. But how good is it to finally get that first race win of the season to kick the season off well? Now you go to the point lead, too.
I just couldn't be more pleased with the car that Exclusive Autosport gave me. They gave me the best car last year and then repeated the same this year. I mean, it was a tough race, but all those cautions with people wrecking out. The restarts were a little hectic, but I was able to keep my composure and put the car back on the box. 1, 2, and 4 for the team is unbelievable. I think it goes to show the hard work that the Exclusive Autosport boys have been putting in behind the scenes. But, I mean, all in all, it's been amazing. We still got one more to go and just got to make the most of it.
Indeed, Matt Roungarito finishing in second and your rookie teammate Billy Fraser in fourth. Getting off to the start like this, talk a little bit about, I know that people want to know, the change in the track, of course. Every time IndyCar comes out, this track gets different for you guys. What was it like for race number 1?
Oh, yeah, so race number 1, definitely the balance of the car was completely different with all the rubber that the IndyCar cars put down. It's unbelievable. They put the rubber down in different parts of the corner, like the exit, because they have so much power. So definitely have to adapt with driving, and we made some changes with the setup. The car was still fantastic, and we're probably going to have to make some more changes after these Indy lights go around today.
Hey, good luck in race number 2 this afternoon.
Thank you, Rob.
Let's move over to the team owner, Michael Duncalf. Michael, obviously the best weekend you guys have had to start this season. You lock out the front row in USF 2000 qualifying. He wins, Christian Brooks wins. You come back and win with Braden Eves as well, race number 2. You guys are 2 for 2 to start the weekend here. All in all, it seems like you put together a great group, both the drivers behind the wheel and the team spinning the wrenches.
Thank you so much, Rob. You know, the guys, that are spinning the wrenches, they've been busting their butts all year. And they've really, the engineers, between the engineers and mechanics, they've really given the guys some really good cars. And then, the drivers, they're delivering on track. They're doing exactly what they need to do every time, we ask it. And, I really couldn't be more proud of the entire team.
You know what, topically right here, right now, as we're watching Indy Lights, you had a couple Indy Lights cars. You ended up selling them during the COVID-19 shutdown. A lot of momentum right now for Indy Lights. As a team owner with USF 2000 and Indy Pro, are you thinking about stretching back out and potentially going Indy Lights in the next couple of years?
We're definitely considering it. Always been a goal and a dream to be in the Indy Lights paddock, and we were there for a moment, and, we'd definitely like to get back.
Hey, congrats on a great day so far, and good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Nick Yeoman, that's Michael Duncalf from Exclusive Autosport. Of course, his race winner, Christian Brooks as well. Braden Eves with another victory. Man, this team off to a fantastic start. And like he said, momentum for Indy Lights. He's one of the teams that's looking to join the grid in 2022.
Yeah, they have definitely established themselves as one of the really premier teams in the Road to Indy. Boy, Michael Young, we about had a mess down in turn 1. What did you just see moments ago?
Well, Lundqvist went in deep into turn number 1. Peroni was there. They both slid through the exit, or midway point, I should say, of turn number 1. They both darn near collided. Peroni was able to gather it back up and get around Lundqvist. But, Nick, it's been interesting. I've been watching Lundqvist the last 5 laps. It just seems like that car is going away from him. He's just not had good car control each and every time he comes into turn number 1, especially. So here he comes into pit lane right now as, boy, Lundqvist just struggling, probably cooked those tires. And Nick, it's frustrating for that guy after having such a good weekend at Barber.
Yeah, it was quite a collision with he and Alex Peroni as Linus Lundqvist brings his car down to pit lane. And Davey Hamilton, I mean, that whole front end of that race car came off the ground when those two made contact.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if they both don't have damage, I'll be really surprised, because definitely got way airborne. And how they both controlled it was pretty impressive, I have to say that. But Lundqvist, I think his car looked like it bit some front suspension to me when it flew that high and came down the racetrack. So I think his day could be done. But boy, how Peroni drove away from that is a miracle. But he may have some damage too, but he's still on track.
Rob Howden, apparently it was a very, very brief stay on pit lane for our now former points leader.
Yeah, I was able to get here just before Linus Lundqvist. He just rolled not even quite to a stop. The team was looking at that left front to make sure everything was okay, pointed him to go, and just got him rolling again. I don't think he even came to a complete stop.
And, I mean, Davey, is that just the reassurance you're looking for as a driver? I mean, ultimately, Linus is going to know if that car feels okay or not.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and he may have said, hey, man, I feel like there's damage to the left front. Maybe the tire's down. First thing they want to say, well, if they come through the pit and they look close at it and see the tire's not down and he still feels something, obviously there's a suspension bit. I'm trying to look at it too. And actually, man, these cars are pretty tough. It looks pretty darn good, and he looks like he's coming up to speed, coming off of turn 14. He's at the full song going down that front straightaway into turn 1. So far, so good. No punctured tire, and nothing seems to be bent, guys. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the front wing looks like it's intact. I mean, that might have just been a perfect scenario of wheel-to-wheel contact that, boy, it looked big, but nothing apparently visually broken on that race car. Lundqvist rejoins the action. He is now in the 12th position. The only driver he is ahead of is Toby Sowery, who is 6 laps down. And for Lundqvist, he is a good full 20 seconds behind Christian Vogel, who runs in 11th. So for these final 17 laps, it's going to be about just turning laps and trying to learn. Let's pick up a battle a little bit further back. Haven't talked much about these drivers this season, Michael Young. It's a battle now for the 8th position. Antonio Serravalle leads Stingray Robb into turn 1.
Yeah, Stingray's been slowly catching that rear wing of Antonio Serravalle. They make their way through turn 3, now working over to turn number 4. But Stingray doing a good job, Jake, trying to close that ground.
Yeah, he got a little bit loose, did Serravalle, I'm talking about, with Robb behind him exiting turn number 3. But everybody managed to kind of gather it up. It's about a 3-car length gap between the two of them as Serravalle works his way now around Pioneer Park.
Yeah, of course, Serravalle, one-car team, driving for his father in the 8th position. Stingray Robb, really the best bet now for Juncos Racing, as Toby Sowery has had his problems. So Stingray Robb runs in the 9th position. Right now, he is about 1 point, now about a full second behind Antonio Serravalle. So that's going to be close enough to use that push to pass. Again, the battle for the 8th position. Those two drivers make their way around the final corner here at St. Petersburg, back out of the front straightaway. The gap, Michael, looks like it's about 3 or 4 car lengths as Serravalle in that red and black car, maybe inching away from Stingray Robb a bit.
Yeah, has a little bit of a wiggle coming through the apex of turn number 1, but gathers it right back up. Actually, Jake, looks like he's checked out about to 3-4 car lengths now.
Yeah, Serravalle looks good exiting turn number 3. As a matter of fact, gets his car now to the middle of the racetrack and keeps it now in a good line through turn number 4. The question I have at this point in the race for Davey Hamilton is this. Davey, when I look down, I can see the rubber laid down here in the racing grooves. Now, that was Firestone rubber from, of course, the Indy cars prior to this. At this point, it would be the Cooper rubber that these cars are laying down. But that means, of course, it's coming off of their tires. So at which point, as a driver, is it more challenging driving on that Firestone rubber that is not necessarily gripping with your Coopers, or having your own rubber, but knowing it means your tires are going away?
Yeah, no, I think it's the first one. I think when you're on that Firestone rubber, just being enough different that they don't mesh together just right is more of a challenge. But once they kind of get that rubber somewhat peeled off, I should say, and you know when it's being peeled off so slightly, because that generates marbles, the small little chunks of rubber you see on the racetrack that's offline that you never want to get into either. And I think as they, even though the tires are wearing down and they have less grip, I think the cars have a little bit better balance in their own rubber. But you're going to drop lap times regardless, as we talked about before. Cooper does a great job with these tires they do not make pit stops, guys. So these tires have to last the entire run, and so they have to be able to take some abuse, and they don't drop off a lot, but they do drop off a little. And if you get your tire to last towards the end of it with a lighter fuel load, you know you can cut some laps and try to be fast at the end as well.
15 laps to go on the streets of St. Petersburg for race number 1 for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. It's the Indy Lights Grand Prix of St. Petersburg presented by Foundation Building Materials. Kirkwood's lead is 3.6 seconds. Battle for second, third, and fourth is starting to get pretty good. Devlin DeFrancesco runs in second. He's got a 1.1 second advantage over Daniel Frost, and then Frost just an 0.8 of a second lead over David Malukas. And Rob Howden, I want to talk about the driver kind of sandwiched in between those two drivers, Daniel Frost. I know you were on the call for the practice session, and just the fact that he's running in the top 3 says a lot about what that Andretti Autosport team did, because I know you can talk a little bit about that accident that he had earlier this week.
Indeed, a couple of drivers, Nick, really started pushing it early in that practice session and in the qualifying sessions as well. Guys are really hanging it out. We had a couple of guys have some issues, and just a minor mistake by Daniel Frost ended up tagging the wall. And again, the Andretti Autosport guys going to work. For me, it's the young rookie, right? You make a mistake like that, you can get in your head. But Daniel Frost is the guy who's pretty focused on what he does. We know he's been strong before on street circuits. He won at the streets of Toronto in the Indy Pro 2000 category a couple of years ago. So he's good on the street circuits. And again, coming off that event at Barber, you think maybe, man, he would have been down on himself a little bit, especially even with the incident early, but he has come back really strong. I've been really impressed with the way Daniel's been aggressive from the very get-go.
Devlin DeFrancesco leads that train towards turn number 4. The advantage is about 4 or 5 car lengths over Daniel Frost, and another 4 or 5 back to David Malukas. Those 3 drivers all within 1.5 seconds. So theoretically, they could use that push to pass button for that little extra horsepower. Of course, you got to be, Davey, throughout the course of a race, you got to be careful with how much you use it, because it will run out. So I imagine those drivers have to kind of be, pick their spots here with 13 laps to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry about that. One thing with these tires that we talked about, right towards the end, right now, is with 13 laps to go, guys. Ooh, and we see the 17. Oh, no, we got one in turn. DeFrancesco, guys, blows in to turn 13 too hard, running that second position, slides off the course into the wall. Definitely going to bring out a caution in that corner, more than likely full course, guys.
And Mark, he is frustrated, pounding the steering wheel. Gonna get a full course yellow. He was running second at the time and had become the points leader as of now.
Well, and we saw it back in IndyCar qualifying with Will Power, how really fast that you can go through 11 and 12, and how perilously tight the confines can be through there. Davey, we're getting to look at the replay as we speak.
Exactly what happened. You get there so quick, but the problem is, you know, it's hard to go through there wide open and get slowed down for turn 13, and that's exactly what happened. He got through there so good, and carried momentum, and just got a little bit high. He got on those brakes, just lost that grip, and man, he hit hard enough. It tore to the left front completely off that car. So wow, that's amazing. Back to what we've seen in our IndyCar series last year, guys. The leader losing control and crashing out. Well, here we have it again. Second place guy challenging for that lead, just goes in too hard, loses it, and takes himself out. So not an easy course, even when you're not getting pressure from behind, guys.
And Davey, I remember what Sam Schmidt said so many years ago when he had a young driver leading by some 9 seconds, sticking to the tire barriers at Long Beach, talking about, at the time, Joseph Newgarden. He said, as frustrating it is from an owner's perspective, all these owners know these kind of mistakes are what they sign up for by running these kids in this series.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I mean, they're going to make mistakes, and you like the mistakes to be small ones that you're not running second towards the end of a race. You like them to be in practice, where we've seen earlier in the week where guys made some mistakes, or they're small enough mistakes to where you recover from it. You slide out wide, maybe get in a little dirt, then lose a spot or two and get back on. But man, when you hit the wall like that, take yourself out, it's a complete heartbreaker for everybody.
It was a fantastic start to the season for Devlin DeFrancesco with a pair of third-place finishes at Barber Motorsports Park for the 21-year-old from Toronto, Ontario. With the accident, he now falls to the 12th position. And Rob Howden, there's a chance that he may fall all the way to dead last. Toby Sowery 8 laps behind him with 11 to go. But I know that Juncos Racing team, they're not calling it a day yet.
Yeah, indeed, they're not. They're going to work on the car here right now. They're making a spring change in the rear of the car. They changed a little bit in the front of the car as well, had the front cowl off to adjust those dampers. They're putting new springs on, as says, on the rear. So trying a bit of a different platform here for Toby Sowery after the engine issues he had early. That said, 10 laps remaining right now. You said he's 8 laps back. He needs to get on the racetrack quickly. They're not really pushing that hard in terms of being down here, trying to get him out in time. That said, we're at full course yellow speed, so if he is able to get out here in a lap and a bit, they may be able to get, as you said, enough laps to be able to move DeFrancesco down to 13th. The Sowery team, not happy at all. I talked to Toby earlier in the day. They were battling a little bit on the feel of the brakes, braking stability going into turn number 1, hoping to get that fixed. But again, right now, just working on a different platform, front and rear changes, Davey Hamilton to the number 51.
Yeah, and that's, you know, when you can't find that balance and you start searching a little bit, it's frustrating at times, but they'll get it. I mean, it's back to new teams, new drivers. Most of the guys are rookies in this series right now, and when you're changing massive, as we call it, throw the kitchen sink at it, you just got to hope for the best.
Davey, what would you have said if you were in the cockpit of that 28 car of Kyle Kirkwood when you found out that full course caution is now going to bunch everybody up for a restart when you've been dominating?
Yeah, right. I know it exactly. I mean, it is what it is, and we've all been there before as racing drivers, thinking, okay, got a nice lead, everything's going great, and something happens. I've won races with this situation, and I've lost races in this situation, so it's never fun, man. I know the biggest one I lost. I know the few of them I won. One of the best one, Turkey Night Grand Prix, when the yell came out with just a few laps to go, and I couldn't hold off Bobby Santos, and it's a heartbreaker for sure. So hopefully he can take off right where he left off and still pull off the win.
Ryan Marine looks like one of our championship contenders. Linus Lundqvist just made another trip to pit lane.
And you know what? I think that might be a strategy call for Linus Lundqvist. They brought him in and changed the 2 front tires on that car and sent him back out. He was already at the tail end of the lead lap, so you don't lose anything with track position being under full course yellow. And I think their thought is, hey, we got 9 laps to go. Let's get him some fresh rubber on the front and see if he can't make up a couple of positions here on this restart.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, it makes sense because now he'll join right there with Christian Bogle and Nikita Lashishkin. We know how fast Lundqvist is, as he's going to have a chance to tail the end of the field and maybe pick up a couple spots as he resumes the points lead after the issues for Devlin DeFrancesco. Here comes the field out of the final hairpin. We're set to go racing once again with 9 laps to go. Kyle Kirkwood accelerates. He'll see the green flag, a 2-car length advantage over Daniel Frost.
Well, for Kyle Kirkwood, he's clean out and into turn number 1, about 2-car length advantage over Frost. Then it's Malukas, McGinnis. Now a look to the inside, Pedersen. Great battle for that 5th position, Pedersen and Robert McGinnis.
And when Kyle Kirkwood comes into turn number 4, he's going to feel a serious crosswind that was not here the last time by that is picked up, but it does not cause issue. Frost is right there, though. It's only a car length and a half between the two. David Malukas in 3rd. Everybody single file and clean through 5.
Yeah, they weren't single file for the 8th position, though. Stingray Robb just got around Antonio Saravalli. Check that. That's now for the 7th position. But as Jake talked about up front, everybody gets in line all the way back to the tail end of the field. Kyle Kirkwood's lead into turn number 10 is about 3 car lengths over Daniel Frost and then David Malukas. And Mark, there's no doubt on that restart, everybody looking all over the racetrack, swinging left and right around the narrow streets of St. Pete.
Yeah, just such an advantage when you're starting up front. And Davey, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you are leading the field back to the start-finish line, boy, it is a huge advantage when you can control what the rest of the field does off that hairpin. Once you clear it first, you get back into the throttle, and typically by the time you get to the start-finish line, you're long gone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard to get the accelerator down coming off of turn 14, so it is a huge advantage for that leader to be able to get aimed in the right direction right at the last second and gas it while the cars in second behind you are still turning that corner. And he did it perfectly. What a great restart Kirkwood did. Was able to pull ahead of Frost there, and now he's able to hold it. So, but it's a bit, it's a bit nerve-wracking when you have to do that. Did a great job of it, though.
Boy, it was a daring pass for Stingray Robb as he went the long way around, Mark, around the outside into turn number 4. That doesn't often work, but Stingray Robb made it work for him.
Yeah, a lot of grip on that race car for sure, and he...
to hold tight. It's a 1 second advantage. Got to stay within 1.5 to use that push to pass. Kirkwood, Frost, Malukas, Michael Young go head to turn number 1.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel Frost starting to close in on Kyle Kirkwood ever so slightly. Third place, Malukas by himself. Then Robert McGinnis in fourth. Pedersen trying to close in on that. Peroni kind of settles into that sixth position. But boy, we had a car at the back of the field nearly spin out. That's a machine of Christian Bogle. Jake Query, they're already to 5.
No, when you watch Kyle Kirkwood, you can tell that right now Frost maybe is just waiting for him to make a bobble. But Nick, the reality is he's running out of time to do so. Last time by, Frost was much closer, probably an extra car length or so that Kirkwood has managed to get himself free of Frost as he works his way now into turn number 10.
And Davey, you would have to think with 7 laps to go, any push to pass that Daniel Frost has, he's got to use because it's go time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he has some left. I don't see the monitor that I have in front of me on how much they have currently be able to use, but now's the time. Try to get up to him in the last few laps and then try to pressure him into a mistake and just hope your tires are that little bit better than his. And if he can get that draft, as we continue to say, it's really windy here down that front straightaway. You're pushing a lot of air, and if he can get a little bit of help on the draft down the front straightaway, he can make up some time. And as we see, as he pitted, as Lundqvist pitted, but doesn't seem to help him any. He's still struggling around there a little bit towards the back of this field. Just watch him locking the tires up, going down into 1 right now.
Yeah, he restarted in the 11th position. He's picked up 1 spot as he kind of, I'd say, Mark threw a little elbow to Christian Bogle through turn number 1. Again, still a good strategy call to put on those fresh Cooper tires, but boy, as strong as this field is going to be, and as much as Lundqvist has struggled, it's going to be tough to get any further up than that.
Wow, the guy in charge of polishing wheels for him, so I'm going to have to talk with him after this race is over because he's been giving them a workout, that's for darn sure. A pretty aggressive move, no question about it, but boy, I think we're watching just how difficult it's going to be, I think, for someone to run off and hide for this championship, because just think how dominating he was last weekend, how solid he was, and boy, he's just not enjoyed the same fate on a vastly different discipline here at St. Pete this weekend.
Michael Young, let's take a peek at that battle for 4th position. Robert McGinnis with about a 4-car length advantage over Benjamin Pedersen.
And Pedersen threw it in deep into turn number 1. He'll close it down to about a 2-car length of advantage. That allows Peroni to get into that battle as well.
It's a really good battle as they work their way into the Firestone Bridge. Again, Robert McGinnis started to get out of the throttle just a little bit entering turn number 4. That allows Pedersen right there. Then Peroni about 2 car lengths behind that duo. They work their way now through turn number 6.
Yeah, Robert McGinnis, a guy that Mark, you're awful familiar with. He's been in the booth for us for some IndyCar coverage. Try to wheel that car. Looks like Benjamin Pedersen maybe just a tick faster here in these final laps.
He, along with Toby Sowery, the only 2 drivers who have previously raced in a lights car here. And now your leader has raced on this circuit before, but obviously in other forms of the road to Indy, along with Stingray Robb. So McGinnis pretty comfortable here at St. Petersburg, and he is poised for a solid top 5 here today.
Up front, Kyle Kirkwood has found that magical advantage. It is 1.5 seconds over Daniel Frost. David Malukas runs in 3rd. We're watching a good battle for the 4th position here with just 4 laps to go. Robert McGinnis leads Benjamin Pedersen into 1.
Yeah, Pedersen trying to close that gap again, unable to do so. They swing through turn number 2, about a 3-car length advantage. McGinnis over Pedersen.
The blue and white of Robert McGinnis. He works his way through turn number 3, swings it just a little bit wide, now keeps it up high. then ducks down low for that righty of turn number 4. He does not make a mistake, but I'll tell you what, Pedersen is right there on him. And again, that battle towards the back of the field, talking about that of Stingray Robb and as well Cervelli, that also got interesting through turn number 5.
Yeah, those two have been battling it out quite ferociously throughout the course of this race. And, Davey, as we watch this battle for 4th, if Pedersen gets close enough to challenge McGinnis, the guy in the catbird seat might be Peroni, who's just a couple car lengths behind, where if this thing spills over, he may be able to gain a few spots at the end of this event.
Well, we've seen that happen time and time again as well, and that's what you love about the end of a race. You always want to make sure that you can take advantage of anybody else's mistakes, and when somebody's challenged and as close as they are, they can make that mistake. And just like we've seen in turn 1 a few times, guys get together, it slows them down a lot. And if you can sneak up on these guys and take advantage of them.
Trouble in turn 1, Michael Young.
Yes, indeed, and it's the machine of Pedersen. He goes around as he tried to duck inside of Robert McGinnis. He loops it around once and twice, now back underway, but he'll fall all the way to the back of the field.
He was trying to get that 4th position away from Robert McGinnis, trying to set him up into turn number 1, and Davey, we saw the back end of that car step out at the most inopportune time.
Yeah, what happened there again, he just went in too early, too low, hit that curbing, and was on the brakes, and when that happened, it just locked the backs up. He turned it right around, and he actually had the back turn before he hit the curbing. Then he did some 360s to try to get going again, misses everybody, spins too much, and lets everybody else go by. And what a bummer, man. And when you're in contention like that, then all of a sudden it's your mistake that you make, man. It's hard to swallow.
Mark, that was almost 2 accidents. I'd love to see that on board for Stingray Robb there at the exit of turn 1.
Davey described it perfectly. I mean, he got in there really, really deep and got up on the curbing. And, Robert McGinnis, Davey, we would call that slamming the door, but Robert McGinnis takes the line that you normally take through there. And I don't think Pedersen had enough momentum and had a good enough track position to make that pass.
Absolutely. You need to be side by side with him going into these corners, because we do not have spotters here, and it's so you have to remember they can only see the same amount as you can see. So if they're not up beside him, usually you can't see them, and it was a position where he felt he was clear because his front tires were barely equal with his back tires, so he got on the brakes not to have that contact but turned himself around.
Kyle Kirkwood's lead is 1.4 seconds as he approaches turn 14, and when he comes back onto the front straightaway, this long airport runway, he is going to see the white flag. Michael Young, the question is his teammate Daniel Frost, does he have anything for him? It's 1.4 seconds, final lap for Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle Kirkwood makes his way down into turn number 1, sets up for the final time. He was a winner here a few years ago in the USF 2000 series, now about 10 car lengths on his way to his first win of 2021.
And just when he thought he was cruising away with it, he had to go ahead and go through a restart, but he did so flawlessly, and as a result, his reward again is an open track in front of him. Kyle Kirkwood with Frost just behind him. David Malukas running in 3rd. No problem for any of the 3 around Pioneer Park for the final time.
Yeah, Frost has carved about 1/10 of a second, but he's going to have to find a whole lot more on this final lap, as there's only a handful of corners to go. They make the bend through turn number 9, setting up for that hard left-hander of turn 10. That's where that wall can jump out and get you. Kyle Kirkwood, nice and smooth, leaves plenty of room between he and that outside wall as he approaches turn 14 for the final time. Kirkwood, 21 wins in 30 races in Road to Indy competition entering this season. He's about to get win 22. Out of the final corner, he'll see the twin checkered flags as Jupiter, Florida's Kyle Kirkwood wins his first Indy Lights race presented by Cooper Tires. He does it for Michael Andretti's organization, winning here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Daniel Frost with a career best 2nd place finish. David Malukas comes home in 3rd. Robert McGinnis finishes 4th, so it's a 1-2-4 finish for Michael Andretti's Andretti Autosport operation. Alex Peroni comes home with a top 5 finish. Stingray Robb avoids all the chaos. He gets all the way up to the 6th position. Antonio Cervelli with a well-earned 7th. Nikita Lastishkin comes home in 8th. Then it is the Global Racing Group teammates with a race to forget. Linus Lundqvist comes home in 9th. Benjamin Pedersen 10th. Christian Bogle finishes 11th. Devlin DiFrancesco finishes 12th. 1 lap ahead of Toby Sowery. So Sowery couldn't get out on the racetrack to make up that final spot. He'll come home in 13th. But Davey Hamilton, what a win for Kyle Kirkwood. Perfect drive for that driver from right here in Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great performance, especially after, he had a mistake himself at the very first race and had contact and put a little damper on his day as well. But come back with a win like this for that Andretti team's got to be super happy, and he did it with domination today.
Kyle Kirkwood wins. He leads all 35 laps on the streets of St. Petersburg, and with it, moves within 8 points of the championship lead. In fact, somehow, despite finishing 9th, Linus Lundqvist will hold on to that points lead over Malukas and then Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood makes his way all the way around the 14-turn street course, making his way down pit lane now, where he will be greeted by a very excited Andretti Autosport team. Again, race win for Kyle Kirkwood. And Mark Janes, just how we like it. 3 races into this season, 3 different winners. Looks like we're shaping up for a pretty intriguing championship battle in Indy Lights.
Yeah, for sure. And, a lot of points on the table each and every weekend with a doubleheader. But how important it is for that young man. I mean, he obviously has had success at this track before on other runs of the ladder, the road to Indy. But always cool to get a win at a track that you, consider your home track. Jupiter, Florida, the home for Kyle Kirkwood, and certainly a star on the rise. Great drive for him today.
Rob Howden, you're down there with, I would assume, a pretty happy car owner.
Michael Andretti, you keep getting fantastic drivers in your race cars, and we've seen them in the years past. This one here, you've been watching him through the road to Indy the last couple of years. Trouble at Barber, but he turns it around. The mental toughness of Kyle Kirkwood. Give me your thoughts here winning here at St. Pete.
Great job. He's been doing a great job all weekend. He came off with a tough weekend, and the rebound like that I think is awesome. And got one more to go, but real happy with the job. And the whole team, really. They were all doing really well. And feel bad for Dev. He had a good one going, but hopefully come back and get him tomorrow.
Congrats on the day.
Thank you.
There's your team owner, guys, at Kyle Kirkwood. Impressive run for the young driver from Florida.
Yeah, fantastic job. Looking forward to hearing from Kyle Kirkwood. And a great job by Michael Andretti's organization. Again, finishing 1st, 2nd, and 4th. Really great job by our turn announcers, Michael Young and Jake Query, out on the racetrack. And, of course, IndyCar Radio wants to thank Squaremouth Travel for providing Jake Query his turn position on their balcony high atop the 12th floor of the City Center here in St. Pete. Behind a multi-award-winning customer service team, Squaremouth has been named one of the fastest-growing companies in the United States 7 years in a row. Get an instant quote at squaremouth.com/IndyCar. Let's hear from some of today's competitors. He comes home in 2nd. Daniel Frost standing by with Ryan Marine.
That's right. It is a first career podium result for Daniel Frost, the native of Singapore, driving for Andretti Autosport, just climbed out of his machine. High fives all around. Daniel, congratulations. Big bounce back weekend for you. I know Barber didn't go the way that you had planned. How nice was it to put that behind you, reward the team with a great result here in race 1?
Yeah, last weekend we put that to sleep. It was not a good weekend for the team at all. But then we bounced back here at St. Pete, 1-2 finish. I think that's a great result. We've shown great pace all weekend. So, hopefully tomorrow we can do the same thing and maybe fight for the win tomorrow.
You had good results here at this track in previous Road to Indy starts. You were on the podium in both races to close out the year last year in Indy Pro 2000. Did any of that carry over here, stepping up to the Indy Lights car?
Yeah, I think so. I think the momentum was carried out over the past few races I had, and with the momentum we had, I think it really showed that we had the pace, and we have a great car and we're pretty strong here, so I'm quite happy.
Thanks for the time.
Appreciate it.
Daniel Frost, first career podium in the Indy Lights Series. And let's get to a first-time race winner standing by with Rob Howden.
Yeah, indeed, a first win for Kyle Kirkwood. But number 22 in Road to Indy action. High five coming in from Cooper Tires, Chris Pantani. Kyle, obviously, the run at Barber, not what you would have expected, not what you wanted. You come back here, though, in your home race in Florida. Tell me what it means to get this first Indy Lights race in the books.
Oh, well, this is the first race here at St. Petersburg that I've won on the first race. Usually I come through on Sunday, but this is a fantastic weekend. Couldn't be happier to be here in my home state. Phenomenal race. We led it from the beginning to the end. Couldn't be happier with the car. Absolutely fantastic. Team's doing a great job. We started this weekend off quick. We were quick in practice, quick in both qualifyings. Unfortunately, we qualified P2 for tomorrow, but we know we've got a good race car. And hopefully we can come through with another podium tomorrow.
Overall, how did the track evolve for you guys coming out? Of course, Indy Lights qualifying, or IndyCar qualifying came out. The track always changes. Any surprises for you?
Not really. Honestly, the fact that I've been in the USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 car before, I kind of know what the car's going to do after IndyCar qualifying. And it was just that. We lost a little bit of front grip in the center of the corner, but traction was phenomenal. And yeah, I took those tools from those previous categories to bring it right into here, and it worked good.
A year off, of course, from Indy Lights. You were on the couch, you did a little bit of sports car racing, some prototype racing. How good does it feel to get back behind the wheel of an open wheel car?
It feels phenomenal. You know, it was a year and a half since I started a race at Barber. So I was like thinking about it. I had that one incident at Barber, and I'm like, I was a little rusty, you know, but we're starting to get in the groove of things, obviously, with this win, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's race as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There he is, guys. Kyle Kirkwood, his first ever Indy Lights win, and as you said, Nick Yeoman, 22 Road to Indy victories.
An amazing accomplishment by Kyle Kirkwood with 22 Road to Indy victories. This is the kind of performance that we have become used to seeing from Kyle Kirkwood, first in the USF 2000 series, then in the Indy Pro 2000 series, scoring dominant wire-to-wire victories. Kyle Kirkwood comes out on top. Daniel Frost, his best ever finish, first podium finish with the second place runner-up finish. And David Malukas in the 79 car rounds out the podium. It will be those familiar names who are up near the front of the Indy Lights series for tomorrow's race number 2 of their doubleheader weekend as well. Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas will reverse their starting positions for tomorrow's race. It will be David Malukas who is on the pole position, and Kyle Kirkwood will start on the outside of row number 1 for Indy Lights race number 2 here tomorrow on the streets of St. Petersburg. We'll rejoin Rob Howden for victory podium ceremonies momentarily with the Indy Lights cars, and we remind you that coming up, still lots more racing action here on the streets of St. Petersburg to come this afternoon. The Mazda MX-5 Cup Series back for their second race of the day. Earlier this morning, it was Celine Roland who came away with the victory. A terrific race from Celine Roland. Michael Carter had the race lead in the early going. A terrific pass from Celine Roland about a third of the way through that race to take over the lead and then hold it for the duration. Chris Nunez came away with the third place podium position, and trouble with points leader Gresham Wagner, who had won a couple of races, and if you were with us early this morning, saw him expressing his frustration at gearbox problems that knocked him out of the race, frustratedly slamming his helmet to the ground as he returned to pit lane. Pit lane will see if Celine Roland can come away with another victory, and fingers crossed that Gresham Wagner is able to get back out on track for this afternoon's second half of the doubleheader. It will also be the second race of the day for the USF 2000 series right after the MX-5 Cup events. Christian Brooks scores the wire-to-wire victory in USF 2000 a little bit earlier today. Matt Round-Garrido in second, and Yuvan Sundramurthy with a nice run moving from 5th at the start up to claim the final podium position in the USF 2000. A doubleheader day and a doubleheader weekend for the USF 2000 series as well. IndyCar qualifying taking place earlier today. It was Colton Herta scoring his 5th career pole position. He will lead the field of 24 to the green flag here tomorrow on the streets of St. Petersburg. 100 laps of racing around this 1.8-mile circuit. He will be alongside on the front row by Jack Harvey of Meyershank Racing, who scores his best ever qualifying result. 2 young guns at the front of the field for the NTT IndyCar Series and their race coming up tomorrow. Green flag at about 12:40 tomorrow afternoon. 2-time winner of the St. Petersburg race is Joseph Newgarden. He will go for 3 in a row later on this weekend. He will be joined on the second row by his teammate Simon Pagenaud, who was really struggling to find speed earlier in the weekend, but found it when it counted during qualifying. Joseph Newgarden, Simon Pagenaud with a 3-4 lockout for Team Penske. On the front row, Sebastian Bourdais, another former winner here on the streets of St. Petersburg, will round out the top 5. Using the power of technology to make the world a better place every day, leading global technology and business solutions partner NTT is providing together with organizations to enhance customer and employee experiences, transform cloud strategy, modernize networks, and strengthen cybersecurity. As an official partner to the NTT IndyCar Series, NTT is applying expertise to shape the future of IndyCar racing by creating digital-first experiences to bring all closer to the action. Download the official NTT IndyCar mobile app and discover how NTT's technology and innovative smart solutions are driving one of the most diverse and challenging series in all of motorsports. Visit global.ntt/NTT IndyCar. The official pace car of this year's Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is the storied Honda Civic Type R. The Civic Type R keeps setting new records on the track and turning heads on the street. With 3 pedals and 306 horsepower turbocharged engine, this one goes out to the driving enthusiast. The Civic Type R, engineered by Honda, a proud sponsor of the NTT IndyCar Series. Tires Plus thinks you should always feel confident in your tire purchase, and that means putting you in the driver's seat. Tires Plus will show you tire options for your vehicle at the best prices, so you can choose the ones that work for you. And every set of tires comes with free rotations for life, all with safer services options, including quick and easy curbside drop-off and contact-free services. For safety and convenience, Tires Plus, where the tire is everything they do. Let's join Rob Howden at Victory Podium for the Indy Lights race just concluded.
Thank you so much, Todd. We are again down here in Tatis Victory Lane for the Indy Lights Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by Foundation Building Materials. Great to have the Foundation Building Materials on board. Again, the top level of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Indy Lights putting the show on for you here on a fantastic Saturday afternoon. 3 drivers, very impressive. Let's bring up the driver coming home third place today, folks, for HMD Motorsports, David Malukas. Again, these drivers one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series. The champion will take the $1.3 million scholarship and move to IndyCar. Coming home second spot, his best finish in his rookie season here at Indy Lights from Andretti Autosports, Daniel Frost. P2 for Daniel Frost. If you are a fan of the Road to Indy, you know this guy's name. He won the USF 2000 championship in 2018, straight to Indy Pro 2000, won the championship there. 21 victories in the Road to Indy coming into this weekend. Count at number 22, a young American you want to know about, folks, for Andretti Autosport. The winner today, Kyle Kirkwood! A Florida boy from Jupiter, Florida, for Andretti Autosport. Trying to win his 3rd straight Road to Indy championship. A definite young gun of American motorsports, Kyle Kirkwood. We got ourselves a championship battle here, though, I'm telling you folks, here in this particular program, because there are so many good drivers in Indy Lights this year, an international field for sure. Teams stepping up. This is going to be a battle all the way through to the finale at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. But again, these drivers doing a tremendous job. Champagne's actually in front of you there, boys, I think in front of the podium. I think we're bringing in some guests first. Indeed. We got a bunch of great guests here from Foundation Building Materials coming to join us. Part of the event here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Tomorrow's event brought to you by Anderson Interior Contracting. Today, Foundation Building Materials. And again, the 3 drivers that they're going to meet up on the podium here in Tatis Victory Lane. Again, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. Remember just a couple years back, guys, this was Oliver Askew, this was Rinus VeeKay, Jack Harvey, Colton Hurd, a Pato Award, Felix Rosenqvist, a winner here at St. Petersburg as well. This is where the future of IndyCar resides right now, learning their trade, making the mistakes, learning from those mistakes and being ready to tackle the status quo in IndyCar. Another race for drivers here. But of course, again, enjoying the day. Guys, drop those trophies down. Champagne up front. Let her rip, boys. Kyle Kirkwood wins his first race in Indy Lights competition. Daniel Frost on the podium for the first time. And David Malukas moving up to the point lead, I believe, with a 3rd place finish here today. They're going to do it all over again tomorrow. 13 of the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series on track. But this is a big one. He's won in USF 2000. He's won in Indy Pro. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Kirkwood, a winner in Indy Lights here at St. Petersburg.
Vehicle maintenance has never been.
Welcome back, race fans, to Road to Indy TV Live. I am here live at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. It's a breezy, sunny afternoon, and I am with one of the most popular guys at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Michael Duncalf, team owner of Exclusive Autosport and leader of the A-Team. Michael, 2 wins today. I've had a lot of drivers on the show. I've never had a guy that's won 2 races in one day. How does it feel?
It feels incredible. You know, a lot of hard work and preparation went into this. You know, we had a solid plan coming in, and both the crew and drivers, they executed today. You know, doing 2 poles yesterday, both in USF 2000 and in Indy Pro 2000. And like I said, the drivers in the race, they did a phenomenal job.
I don't recall, I don't know my Road to Indy facts, but it's pretty rare that a team gets 2 wins and sweeps both categories on the Road to Indy. Do you know how rare that is?
I don't know the numbers on it, but it has to be rare. Yesterday when both Braden Eves and Christian Brooks put it on pole, it was pretty incredible. And then to follow those pole runs up with wins today was fantastic.
So for the fans at home, you're making it look easy. You come into the Road to Indy. You've spent your entry in 2017 was with a famous Canadian driver that we won't mention. But since then, 2017, 2018, what has it been like as your climb of the way to the top? I mean, I have to say, after today, if exclusive Autosport is not considered a staple on the Road to Indy, I don't know what we can do to convince the fans that that's the case.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. It's been a grind. As you know, my wife Kimberly, she's working countless hours back home in the office. We absolutely couldn't do it without her. Our staff, our staff's been growing, and we have a lot more stability in our staff. A lot of full-time guys that have been here with us now for a few years, and they're just, they are dedicated to the program, dedicated to the drivers, and we're all doing everything we can to just keep making this the best possible program we can for our drivers, and I think the results are starting to speak for themselves.
Well, and one thing I have to say, Michael, one thing you've been so diligent at is not only finding good race car drivers, but getting creative, finding ways to fund them properly, and finding ways to put them in your program to let them succeed. So I have to say, first off, hats off to you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Secondly, how is that? I think that's different to any other approach as any other team owner on the Road to Indy. How do you put the work behind the scenes to make that happen?
Well, before I started Exclusive Autosport, I had exclusive management, and we still manage a few drivers. And as you know, these young drivers, they all need help with their budgets.
For sure.
And so it's, one thing that I wanted to do was go out and find corporate partnerships and corporate partners that want to get behind the program and our drivers and help them ultimately achieve their goals on track and make it to IndyCar, and also, achieve the partners' goals as well.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I know the Road to Indy TV fans are probably going to get tired of hearing it, but I'm going to keep going because I've seen so much of it today. We've had both the winners on with the Cambridge Global payments. They're here this weekend. Talk to me about that partnership.
Absolutely. So Cambridge Global Payments, they've renewed their partnership with us for a second year now. Incredibly thankful to have them on board as a partner. They help us in multiple ways. They help us, they've really helped streamline our business. We are saving money, which if you're saving money, you're making money. And there's a lot of different things we're doing on the partnership side as well. But they've been very instrumental in really just helping streamline everything and making us more efficient in the business side of things. And they've been again helping with their drivers. So they're the title sponsor on Braden Eves number 91 Indy Pro 2000, as well as Billy Fraser's 91 USF 2000, and then they're a team partner on the remaining cars.
That's fantastic, and it's really cool for the Road to Indy TV fans at home. I have to say, being a driver myself and always struggling to raise sponsorship, the days of just putting a sticker on the side of the car are pretty much over. I don't even know if they were ever around, to be honest. But I really love how you're getting creative business to business, right?
Absolutely.
You're using Global Payments himself in order to help his business, and then in 100%. Turn, they're helping you fund race cars and fund drivers to the top. Well,
Absolutely.
Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know we have a personal friendship outside of it too, so I can't be biased, but it's great to see you succeed. There's not a harder working guy out there that puts good drivers in cars and funds them and makes sure they succeed. So, Michael, congratulations on all the success.
I appreciate it. Hey, we had a good run, and who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll see an EA, PT reunion, maybe in an IndyCar or something.
I know those cars are red and white. It's a shame that we don't have a maple leaf on the side of one of them. So we'll have to sort something out.
Work on that big Canadian title sponsor.
I like it. Next up, we've got the race winner of Indy Lights coming up on the post-race show. Stay tuned.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Welcome back to Road to Indy TV Live, and I am here with a fan favorite, Race 1 winner of Indy Lights St. Petersburg, Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle, your ears must have been burning at Barber Motorsports Park, because I didn't write you off, but I'm going, where's Kyle Kirkwood? Come on, where's my guy? And after a, let's call it a stumble of a start, you come out here and prove everybody wrong that you're on the same form that you did when you ended in 2019. How does it feel to be an Indy Lights race winner?
You know, Barber, it was a year and a half since I started a race in general, or drove really in any open wheel car for that matter. So there's a lot of time off. And no, it definitely wasn't good. It wasn't a good start, to say the least. And with that fifth, and we salvaged a fifth and kind of salvaged a ninth too after the mishap in race 1. And it feels good to get that first win here, especially in my home state.
I bet. And to do it in such a dominant style, I mean, really, Andretti wasn't on their form at Barber Motorsports Park. And now you guys come out of the gate. I mean, the race, for most of the race, you ran 1, 2, 3, even 4 at one point, with Malukas getting shuffled back by Robert McGinnis. Yep. So how does that feel to lead a team of juggernauts? You're back.
You know, it was it felt good. It's a good feeling because, you know, here it's like, man, this is where the start of the season usually happens, and is where you want to do good. And usually in USF 2000, Indy Pro in the previous years, I've just started off bad for some reason. And this year, well, you starting off bad, you beat me twice in a race. Funny thinking about that. You're a king around this place, so you should be out there in one of the cars. No, it feels good. Get that first win. It's the first time I ever won the first race at St. Pete.
Yes.
So that's a good box to check off, and
for sure.
Hopefully we can do the same tomorrow. But we start from P2. You know, it's so tough to pass in these high downforce cars. The push to pass helps,
yes.
but it doesn't. It's still not that easy.
Okay, so that gets me into my next question. I'm a guy never driven push to pass. Up until this race, well, really, because Barber Motorsports Park, we didn't have it. Up until this race, you had never driven with push to pass. Now you're leading the entire race. You don't get push to pass. You can't use it to defend, unlike IndyCar.
Yep.
Did you get to use it in practice? And what does it feel like? Is it as good as they say it is, that extra 50 horsepower?
It makes a difference. It feels way faster than it actually is. It only equates to probably 5 miles per hour at the end of the straight.
Really?
Yeah, but
okay.
But you get 15 pushes for 15 seconds for the entire race. Unfortunately, I didn't have it. So
right.
everyone else that's within a second and a half of me has it, and they're able to kind of keep in that gap, which was a struggle for me. But it's really nice to use. I mean, when I used it when I was behind Benjamin Peterson in practice, and I used it twice where I was like 1.5 seconds behind, probably 0.8 after he came out of turn 8, and then I used it on the front straight, and I'm on my gearbox. So
wow.
it was it's definitely a good tool to use for the race. It helps a lot to make the racing closer, because it's so tough to pass when you get behind somebody.
It is so tough to pass. So talk to me about the difference of Indy Pro and Indy Lights, the wash behind cars, especially at a place like St. Petersburg. Usually we're running pretty high downforce here. There's a couple kinks that are kind of sketchy if you get in the wash of somebody.
Yep.
Is the Indy Lights car worse, or is it better than the Indy Pro car?
It's actually very similar. You'd think that it'd be worse because it's got more downforce. The Indy Lights car produces more downforce, but it's not that vastly different. You'd be surprised if you drove the Indy Lights car, because it's quite the same, but you still lose a lot of time. I think you feel it more in the braking than you would technically like in the high downforce sections.
Well, that makes sense too. I mean, a lot of the Indy Lights downforce is with the floor, right? Not just with the upper wings.
Yep.
So you lose it in the braking when you're following somebody in the dirty air.
It was really easy to lock up because I was in the dirty air the entire Barber weekend, unfortunately. But so it was like lockups were such a common thing for everybody. I mean, we saw Rob McGinnis destroy his tire from lockups, and so did Daniel Frost. So both my teammates, they just locked up too much and it destroyed the tire, which is super unfortunate. When you lock up for that long, it's going to destroy any tire.
And in this afternoon, you looked calm and composed, but behind you there was a lot of lockups too. I mean, I've never seen so many drivers miss turn 1. Was it greasy?
No, it wasn't so greasy. It seemed a little bit understeery compared to the previous sessions, which I think is kind of normal around here after IndyCar runs.
Yes.
You get a little bit more lag in the center of the corner, but traction was really good, and I felt like braking was great. Going into 1, we had a big headwind today compared to yesterday.
Okay.
So I was braking much later. Granted, we're going probably slower because of the headwind, but braking is quite good. And then going into 10 as well, we had a pretty big headwind. It's kind of, we're looking at the flags right there, it's kind of a crosswind across the front straight like that.
Yep.
And then it's straight into you going into 10. So braking there was much later. So it's even that much less downforce if you're behind somebody, because
for sure
you're getting 18, 20 miles per hour of headwind, you're going to lose 18 or 20 miles per hour downforce in the car, which is a lot.
It is a ton. Yep. So the last question I want to talk to that's more technical, and then we'll get into just the happy stuff, which is you won the race. You drove the Lexus GTD car.
Yep.
You've got that deal, which is fantastic. So you're doing a bit of double duty this year. In preseason, I was going, I'm driving ABS this year, and I can tell you from my standpoint, it is way different than a Formula car. Like I'm braking at some of the places at Sebring, I'm braking deeper in a GTD car or the Porsche Carrera Cup car than I would in an Indy Pro car, which is a lot different for me. How has that changed the way you're driving the Lights car, if any at all? Is it tough to adapt back and forth?
Not necessarily. For me, it was tough at first, but then I kind of realized what the differences are, and once I realized that, it's better now. But with ABS, like you hit the brake and then you just hang on to it for so long, so you lose a little bit of the initial braking because you have less downforce in those cars. But like when you're coming into the corner, you're just hanging on to the brake and the thing just keeps stopping.
Right.
When I first did that, I thought I was going straight because in any open wheel car that doesn't have ABS, you're going to go straight. So, it's strange to get used to at first, but When you get used to it, it's all right. What I've learned from the sports car stuff more so is managing tires and fuel saving, which we don't get to learn here because it's all sprint races, and pit stop strategy, which will be great to take into the IndyCar stuff. I mean, IMSA is, and GTD, it's the top level of that,
For
and
sure.
IndyCar's the top level here, so you'd expect that kind of thing.
Well, and not to mention that, but I thought you did a fantastic job of managing those Cooper tires in the race. You know, it's funny because you mentioned this, and I think it's important to bring up, but at first you had Devlin DeFrancesco. Then Devlin obviously made that mistake in turn 12, 13, or 13, 14. Then you had Frost, which had a fresh set of push to pass. So all of a sudden you had to go through two guys that had full push to pass. But it seemed like your tires just, you had the race managed pretty perfect.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to save tires a little bit there when Dev was behind me, but when he got a little bit quicker, I started having to push a little bit. These two Cooper tires hang on great. If you think about it, IMSA, we do 30-lap stints. Here we did 35 laps.
Right.
So your tires in IMSA would be absolutely destroyed. And here, if they hung on, we were running pretty much virtually our quickest laps at the end, which is, we were running our quickest laps at the end. So, I mean, it just shows how good the Cooper tire hangs on for that long in its tire life.
Well, good for the Cooper tire, and that also brings up, too, when these cars get low on fuel, it has to feel amazing, huh?
Yeah, we gain a lot of time on fuel burn. We start with, like, anywhere from, like, 80 to 110 pounds of fuel, I think.
Yeah.
And when you get rid of that weight, the car gets so much more nimble on transitions, braking. You can brake way later, and it's a good feeling, yep.
Well, that's awesome. Kyle, you're a winner in your home state. Lastly, I want to say, is there anyone you want to thank? Obviously, you're the 2019 Indy Pro Scholarship car. Anyone else you want to thank while you win in your home state?
Oh, man, I mean, obviously, Bob Stelrecht, if he's out there watching, he's been a part of the Andretti group for so long. Obviously, Andretti, Doug, my engineer, mechanics, J-Rob, and Dalton. It's great to be working with those guys. They do a really good job. I've never worked with a group like that before, with how meticulous they are with everything. And definitely to a couple of my other sponsors, Danos, Tequila, and First Tex Industries.
That's fantastic. You heard it first here, folks. There's no I in team. Kyle Kirkwood getting the job done in Indy Lights Race 1. Next up, we've got Race 2, USF 2000, so don't go away just quite yet.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers. Cooper.